Hi, I'm Erin from Create, Dream, and Paint, and I'm so excited it is Mixed Media Collage Month. Today we need our Mod Podge or glue, paint supplies, a pencil, eraser, aluminum foil, and collage papers, fabric or construction paper. Let's get started. So today we're going to be working on a farmyard collage. I thought it would be a fun first project to do during Collage Month. So the first thing we're going to do is we're not going to worry about all these different shapes I have in here. We're going to paint the background. So if you look, the parts I've painted in my example are blue, light blue for the sky, and a green for the grass. So that is what we're going to do first of all. So I'm going to put this to the side, but I will show you throughout the whole process. I wanted to also talk to you about green, and green is a secondary color. So our primary colors are going to be red, blue, and yellow, but we're not going to worry about red today. We're going to just think about blue and yellow. And when you mix those two colors together, you get a secondary color of green. So that's how we're going to create the grass. You can use green paint that you have at home, but a great way to just practice is to look for a color you want to make and see if you can come up with it just out of your primaries. So the first thing we're going to do is look at our canvas or our paper or board, and we're going to see kind of where we'd like to put everything. So I'm going to use a ruler, and you don't have to. I'm going to draw the ground, but to draw the ground, I'm going to kind of make sure that it's the same line on each side of the canvas. So, instead of measuring it, because I'm really bad for that, I'm going to just put my paintbrush here, and I'm going to slide it all the way to the end and see. Okay, we look like we're pretty level. I'm going to put a line right across here. And this is going to be where I have the horizon. So this is going to be where I have the sky and where I have the grass. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to learn to mix green. So I've got my little palette here that I make, and I'm going to first take some yellow. Because remember, the colors, the two primary colors that make green is yellow and blue. So we're just going to put a little bit of yellow, and then I'm going to take some of my blue. Put that down on my palette too. And remember what we learned last month. If you want to lighten the value of the color, you add white. Because value is the difference between a dark color and a light color. So we're going to take some blue. We're going to take some yellow. And like I said, if you have green and you just want to do that, you go right for it. But I think it's always sometimes good for us to learn to mix our own colors. Love this color green. I think this is perfect for grass. But what I'd like to do, I've actually got quite a bit of hard paint, I think, on that brush, so I'm going to get a different one, is I'm going to change the value of the green. So I am going to make this green lighter. So I am going to add white. So I'm just going to add it to the corner here. See the difference of the green I can get. I just want a light green so then I can put some more details in it with some collage. And I'll put in some darker green. But that's totally up to you. You could make the ground pink, you could make it purple, you can do whatever you want. It is your art project. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my smaller brush. I'm not going to stay with my smaller brush because it's a pretty big area and we're not too worried about having to work around things. But I'm going to take the smaller brush, kind of just make that line, right? And feel free to make the ground whatever color you want, or you could do different values of green. You could put just different squares or circles of a different value of green. That's a lot of fun too. But I'm just going to go through with this. I'm just going to work through the ground. Here we go. And remember, nothing is permanent on these. If you want to change something, you just go right ahead and do that. You can paint right over. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of my bigger brushes. I'm going to put some water on it because remember, acrylic has a tendency to dry really fast. Okay, a little bit more white and a little bit more green. And I'm going to work my way through the ground. So just feel free to kind of go through the ground, all of it with the green, and then, you know, pick what color you want for your sky. I'm going to want a light blue. But it takes me a while to kind of get a great background color because I'll go over it a couple times. So I'm going to leave this part, and I'm going to come back to that later because I don't need to show you an example of just painting it. So I'm going to show you how to mix the blue for the sky. So what I'd like to do is I'd like a really light blue. So we're going to put a light blue, but we're going to put lots and lots of white. But I'm going to explain something here that's a little bit different than we did last time. So we're always learning about mixing colors and how that works. I'm going to want to add a little bit more white, but before then, I want you to look at this color blue. This color blue is an amazing color blue, but it's kind of very artificial looking. It doesn't really look like the sky because the temperature of the blue is quite strong. So that means a very vivid, very bright color. And I think I'd like to dull it down a little bit. So you can do this with any color you want. We're gonna go in and we're gonna put gray in that blue because it dulls down that brightness. So I'm going to take just a little bit of black and pour just a little bit by the white. And I want you to try this with different colors. If something's just too bright, but it's the right value, you just need to go in and dull it down a little bit. And to do that, we're going to take the black and the white and we're going to mix that together to make gray. And then I'm going to take that gray and I'm going to add that to my color. And I want you to see the difference it makes. See how we're creating quite a bit the same value, but that temperature of that blue is not so artificial. You've got kind of a nicer blue. It looks more natural. Looks like something you would see outside and not like in a comic book. So I took that blue down a bit. And I'm also going to add some more white to it because I'd like maybe the value to be a little bit lighter for my sky. But do you see how it's amazing how we can change those colors right up, right? So we're going to do that and see how I'm getting a lighter value of that blue. It's also toned down a whole bunch. So it does. It looks like a nice day at the farm we're painting. Perfect. Okay, so remember, I'm going to take my, you know what, I'm going to kind of wipe this brush off a little bit because I used it to mix. And I'm going to take my small brush and I'm just going to run it down where the horizon line is because I'm going to paint that sky all blue. And I'll go in with a bigger brush, but I find it sometimes easier when I try to make a line to go in with something a little bit smaller. I'll be excited to see if you guys decided to mix your own colors. Please, when you send in your picture, let me know. And try to make, we're gonna start trying to make a different color every time we meet up. And then we're gonna start talking about the color wheel. So the color wheel is amazing because what it teaches us is how to make our own colors. And I'm gonna teach you how to do that. But we're just gonna practice by making a few fun colors first. Sometimes it's nice just to be able to make a couple colors. Okay, I'll work my way right over to the side. Perfect. You might hear Zach running around. I've kind of heard him in the background a little bit already. He's getting so much better about trying to give me a little bit of space to make the videos, but it's still a really hard thing to do. Okay, so I'm going to take my bigger brush. As I break my brush, which happens quite a bit to me, I use them so often, sometimes I have to go in and glue them again. If that ever happens to you, and it's still a really good brush, you could ask your mom or dad if they could glue back on. I'm going to go in and grab some more glue. I'm going to just work my way through. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go and I'm going to finish the rest of the blue and the rest of the green, and I will be right back. So we're back to start collaging because we finished painting our background. The really important thing to do right now is to make sure that your background is nice and dry. We don't want it to be wet. And the reasoning why is if it isn't completely dry, when you put the collage on, you might find it starts peeling the paint off the canvas. You need to make sure it's stuck really good to the canvas and it's nice and dry. So you'll have a dry surface to glue on. So I'm going to show you this again in just a moment, but I want to show you a couple things. Right now, we're going to start learning to use Mod Podge. If you don't have Mod Podge, just get some white glue or a glue stick. But I like using the Mod Podge with an old brush. I want you to make sure and ask your parents if you have a brush that you can use for glue. You can wash it, but it's never quite the same. And so you can just keep using it for glue over and over again. So I also want to show you that I have tons of papers I love to collage with. So I've been putting a couple tutorials up on the Facebook that you can check out. I think I just did this one out of greens, but you can make all sorts of papers. And I like to use, like, these are old origami papers someone brought me, and this is just from this is actually from making splat monsters. So I like using a lot of the papers already in your art that you might be getting rid of. Just make sure you get little pieces of them, and they're great to collage with. And also magazine papers are wonderful. That's what I've got here. So we're going to take a look at the farmyard scene that we're going to be doing, because we're going to think about what are we going to put in. And I want you to know this is what I put into my collage, but it doesn't mean that you can't create something else. I'm just going to show you how to do it. So feel free to change it up whatever way you want. So for my son, I'm going to get a nice yellow piece of paper. And I like using things, especially when it's circles. I'm going to put that right there. Especially when it's circles, I like to use a cup or maybe a bowl. And I'm going to trace all the way around so I get a really nice circle. And then I have that drawn on here. So what else will we like to get out of the yellow piece of paper? I think I'm going to want to do some rays of the sun. So really what these are triangles, right? Just like long triangles. And that's only if you want to put them in, but you can just draw them by hand, or you can do what I'm going to do, and I'm just going to use a bit of a ruler to create a triangle. I don't feel like it needs to be perfect. That's the nice thing about collages. They're kind of just like, sometimes the papers are really like neat and tidy, and sometimes they're really messy. And that's okay. Sometimes nice to have that little bit of difference, right? Okay, so I've got 2 triangles and a circle. Okay, I'm gonna go in with another triangle. And then I'm gonna cut these out. I'm gonna show you that really quick. And then some of the other shapes I'm going to draw with you, I'm going to just let you kind of draw them with me, and then you take your time and you cut them out. So I'm going to just make sure I cut on the inside of the pencil line, and then you just don't see where I kind of drew my pattern piece, really is what it is. Okay, so there is like the circle of my sun. It's got a little bit of a point on it. And then I'm going to cut out the triangles for my sun's rays. And make sure you use magazines that your parents don't want anymore. And if you ever need magazines, make sure you let me know, because I have so many people that usually bring me things like magazines and all sorts of kind of papers. And I make sure that I give them out to whoever needs them. Okay. So I've got one piece. I'm going to cut the next piece for my sun. And I also want to show you, before I glue anything down usually in my collages, I kind of design out the pattern first. So don't feel like you gotta glue right away. You don't. Here we go. Okay, I just don't want to hit my camera. I know I probably did that earlier to you guys today. So that's where I think I'd like to put the sun. Oh, here we go. Kind of got a big mess. That's the one thing about collage you'll find. It becomes kind of a mess. So the thing is too, is you want to always make sure that you help clean up at the end. So then it's not so irritating for your parents for you to have art time, because you're going to help clean up. If you're old enough to make the mess, you're old enough to clean it up, is what we say in our house. Okay, so there's the start of my sun. I kind of like that. So I'm going to take this panel and I'm going to put this over here. And we're going to look at some of the other shapes we could put in. So I think I'd like to work on the sheep. And the sheep's bodies, you can see, is just like the sun. It's a big circle. So we're going to try that, and I'm going to use some, fun kind of paper. This is old magazine paper. So I'm going to put my cup down, and I am going to use my pencil, and I'm going to trace all the way around it. Perfect. And then we're going to cut that one out. But I'm going to do 3 different circles like this for 3 different sheep. So I'm going to put these to the side so we can cut those out after. Otherwise, it's just going to take far too long, and you guys are going to get very bored watching me. Okay, so I'm going to use, you know what? I'm going to use this. This is a bigger, so this side of the cup is quite small, and this side is bigger. So I'm going to make sure I do maybe 2 small sheep and 1 big sheep. So this paper, I think I got this. My son had a bunch of stuff he'd done at school and he didn't want it anymore. So I just kind of put it in to a container for blue paper. And look how perfect it is. It didn't go in the garbage. It pretty much went into another art project. We do that a lot at our house. I keep little containers of different colors, so if I come across some fun paper in a certain color, I just go put it in the shoebox with that color on it. So I can sort out little bits of magazine paper. Okay, and we're gonna do, shall we do 1 more sheep? I think we will. And you know what, I think this is kind of lighter than the other piece, so we're gonna do that. And remember I said 2 small sheep and 1 big one, so I'm gonna go through. We are going to draw that circle, and I'm going to put that over there to cut. So I want to show you how I do the sheep's face. And I'm going to show you on a white piece of paper first, just so you can see how I draw it. So if you look, it's a triangle, maybe with a little bit of the very tip of the triangle gone. And then it's like 2 footballs for the ears that are attached to the triangle, right? So it doesn't need to be difficult. This is all we want to do for the shape of the sheep's head. So I think I'm going to use the color black for that. And I've just got some plain, oh, that's going to be too small, plain black paper that I am going to draw some sheeps. Some sheep. Okay, I'm going to use this one. I think it'll show up a little bit better. Hoping you guys can see it, but I just want you to remember what it looks like if you can't see my pencil mark. And that is, if we do the triangle, right, with not the tip on the end, and we do 2 footballs on the side for the ears. Do you remember I say drawing does not have to be difficult? What it is just looking at shapes and breaking it down. So that one will be for the bigger sheep, and then I'm going to choose 2 smaller ones for the smaller sheep. And then 2 footballs. And then I'm going to put this to the side. And we are going to cut those out later. So I'm just going to make sure you make 3. Perfect. And there's not to say anything that you can't go in and paint this on your collage paper either if you wanted to paint the faces on. Okay, so we've got the sheep's body, which is the circles, and the sheep's heads. Now we're going to look and see if we can make the sheep's legs. And I have this amazing paper left, and I'm just going to show you guys really quick. I've cut a rectangle. And now I'm just going to trim 4 slivers for legs. And I want you to be careful with those scissors, because sometimes when you're doing that, you just want to be extra careful you don't cut your fingers. And I'm going to have to do 3 sets of those, right? So 4 legs on each one. So I'm going to put those to the side. What else do we have? We have, I know we have the barn, but behind the barn, we have some trees shape. So I'm going to show you how to do that. I'm going to take the collage paper that we just made, and I'm just going to rip it. And if you don't have scissors or you want to rip all your papers, you can too. You don't have to use scissors. And then I'm just going to do multiple ones, and that's going to make the shape of trees to go across my horizon. Okay, I think that'll be enough. So we're going to come back to do the barn and the fence posts in a little bit. First, we want to kind of design this out. I grab my canvas again, and I'm going to show you what I mean by kind of planning things out. So I'm going to lay all of these across. See, you don't even have to put a barn in if you don't feel like it. I'm going to show you how to do it, but don't feel like you have to. But see how I just kind of see where everything is placed? So I am going to cut out the sheep's heads and ears, their legs, their bodies, and then we're going to come back and I'm going to show you how to start gluing them onto your canvas. So I'm going to go do that right now, and you just pause the video and come on back when we've cut out the shapes that we've been working on. I'll be right back. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to show you how to do is how to put the trees in the background, because that's at the very background. And that's what we want to do first, is we want to put the very farthest thing so we can start layering things on top. Okay, so I got these fun ones. And remember I told you, make sure if you are using your Mod Podge to ask your parents if that is okay. I flip over my piece. I can always put glue on the background too, but I always kind of just like to glue the pieces, the background. It just keeps things a little bit neater, but sometimes I'm known to put the glue right on the canvas. Okay, so I'm just gonna stick that on here. And see how the edges are not completely stuck yet. And I'm gonna put on the edge. And I think you guys can probably hear Zach in the background. I think he's gonna come to see what we're working on. Hi, Zach. You tell everyone, what is tomorrow?
Tomorrow's my birthday.
It's your birthday! How old are you turning?
7.
Are you excited?
Mhm.
Is it gonna be awesome to be 7?
Yeah.
Like, see how this one, I'm just putting the glue over on the canvas. See how that works too? Because Mod Podge and white glue does dry clear. Perfect, there we go. And see the edge, that's the edges are kind of turning up a bit. You can make sure that you kind of lift them up and put the glue underneath. We're gonna put this across like this. And you know what, I'm gonna put some on the background of this too. So Zach, tell everyone what's the best part of turning 7?
I don't know.
Because you're not 7 yet? Zach is the youngest kid in this house. Are you the little one, Zach?
Well, not the little one anymore. I have a niece.
You have a niece. And what's her name? Tell everybody. Briar. When she gets older, she's going to paint too, right, Zach?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so we're going to look now. And what is the next thing? I would say let's put the sun on. So I'm going to take the yellow circle. And if you feel like this project is just too much and there's too many pieces, just know you can drop a level, right? I always have one easier one and one a little bit more advanced. So don't ever feel weird about checking out the other video or doing both. Some days I feel like, type of art projects that are lots of work, but sometimes I don't. Sometimes I want more of the easier kind of things. And if you don't really like the fact you can see a little bit of the glue on the paint, that bothers me sometimes, not always, because I kind of like different textures on my collages, but you can just paint them on your tinfoil. I do that when I need to, I'll show you, I'll do that right here. Sometimes I do that when I'm really finicky that you can see a little bit of glue marks, but sometimes I like a little bit of a mess with my art. I find that's what makes it mine. Perfect. See the sun? That's just awesome. And I love this collage paper that we made. So if you want to check out how to make this collage paper, you just look up on Facebook my tutorials. And I'd have it on the website too under the tutorials. I love working on different collage papers. Zach, can you make sure you don't hit the light, okay? Because it's got the camera attached. We're still learning all these things. Okay, so next we're gonna look and see where we kind of want the placement of our sheet. So I did 2 little ones, so I might put them farther in the background like this, and then one big one. Actually, you know what I might do? I think I'm gonna put the 2 little sheep there, the big sheep down here. We just read the Billy Goat's Gruff not long ago, didn't we, Zach?
It was so funny.
It was a funny book. Okay. Perfect. Okay, so we're gonna glue on the sheep's body. And like I said, sometimes you might find some paper takes a little bit more glue. Then you just go over the edges, right? You just fold it down, put some glue on there. Don't worry about making a mess. That's what collages are just all about. And you're gonna find you have lots of glue on your fingers when you're all done. Or at least I do. I know I've watched some artists that can stay totally neat and tidy when they paint and they glue. And I sometimes wish I was one of those people, but I just know I'm not. I'm messy. Okay. Here's a little sheep. Oh, that's going to be so excited to see what you guys have. And like I said, don't feel like you have to put everything in. If you just want one sheep and a sun, and then paint the rest, you go for it. I'm just showing you options. That's a nice thing. It's like having a bunch of tools in a toolkit. I'm just teaching you these tools, and you can use them anytime. Doesn't mean you have to use them today. Perfecto. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put on, kind of look at the biggest sheep's head I made. I'm gonna put it, he's gonna be looking that direction, I think. There we go. Perfect. Okay, so I'm gonna have this sheep looking over here. Oh, and this paper really doesn't want to stick. Sometimes you'll find that some paper is a little bit more porous. That means it accepts the glue, like it kind of soaks it in, or it does not. So there might be the odd paper you get where you're like, this is just not working, and you're gonna have to use a different one. And that's part of the thing about collage, is it's kind of a surprise sometimes on how things are gonna work. But it's kind of neat too, because you get to experiment with lots of different kinds of paper. Okay, so I'm gonna put that sheep right there, and he's gonna be visiting with the other little sheep right here. Perfect. Okay, and then next, what we're gonna do, and remember we cut all these pieces. It doesn't mean that these pieces you can't cut some more. Like maybe that leg is way too long, and you're gonna wanna shorten it a little bit and glue it right on. Just depends on what you want. And then you don't even need to cut it with scissors. See, I can just rip that piece of paper. I do use a lot of fabric in my collages too, which is kind of fun. There. I'm super interested to see how everyone's hanging up their artwork. I've seen a couple people put up that they put it up in their living rooms or in their bedrooms. You guys have to show me how you go ahead and hang them up. They're sometimes really fun. So when people come over, you can show them what you've been making, because you should feel very proud of yourself. Art can be sometimes frustrating and sometimes wonderful, and you should really be proud because you're learning new things. And to learn new things, you need to be brave. Here we go. It's good sometimes to do things that we're not always perfect at the first time, that we're learning. Perfect. Put another sheep's leg. And then we're going to start working on that barn. I think I'm not going to do this sheep's legs. I'm going to do this. Well, I kind of get everything cut out too, because I know sometimes it can be pretty boring to sit and watch me the whole time in a video when you could be just working away on your own. So I try to just give you the tools you need to go to the next step, because I know you can do it. Perfect. So I'm going to still put the the sheep's legs on here, but we're gonna look and see what else we can put on here. So I'm gonna put a barn. And you know what? A barn could be a square. You could just cut out a big square, or you could cut out a design. I'm just gonna move this to the side and I'm gonna show you. I'm just gonna show you, you should be able to see it. Remember when we did the house and the buildings last month? If you guys haven't watched it, please do. But remember how we make it kind of like an odd angle? Kind of more fun that way. I'm gonna try this. You can cut it out any way you want. It doesn't have to be perfect. We're gonna do this, and then we're going to cut out fence posts. And I'm gonna do this barn a little bit different than the one I have right now, but I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna put it right here so you can see what it looks like. And then I'm gonna go and, you know what? I think I want kind of an orange roof. And you know what I'm gonna do? I think it's kind of funny. Here is, I'm just gonna put a triangle on the top, just like that. And it needs a door. I think that's the only other thing we need on that barn. Okay. So we're gonna cut out another rectangle. Kind of got messy, so I'm gonna trim it a little bit more and see how that works. And I can put that barn right on. It doesn't have to be difficult. You could even put a window if you wanted, or you could put a house. You could do all sorts of things. Maybe a sheep, like living in the middle of a city. Okay, and now what I'm going to look for is I'm gonna actually make yellow fence posts. And I'm gonna put little pickets. You know what a picket is on a fence post? How it's cut like that? I'm gonna do those like that. But just so you know, like you can use all sorts of things in your collages. I even use sometimes like old, like fabric napkins, lots of different things. The nice thing is you just keep trying things out. I'm gonna show you, I'm gonna put up some pictures of some collages I've done on the site. So you guys take a look. And I want you to see the different things I use in them. I use ribbons and bows and some mesh from old fabric, like fruit bags, lots of different stuff, and it gives me a lot of cool texture. Okay, so I want you to look again. I have the barn, and then I just have some fence posts around here. I'm gonna put that there. I'm not gonna bore you guys with gluing things on because I know I've showed you that and you're probably bored with it. But I just want to show you how I'm going to go and just make sure everything kind of fits. You know what? That barn is kind of big. So I'm going to just cut the end off of it. We're going to try it like that. Perfect. That looks pretty good. See how you can make things work? If it doesn't work, like I said, you just take a deep breath and you figure it out, because I know you can. Here, and then we're going to put the fence pickets like this. Okay. And then I'm going to do the sheep's legs. I'm going to just show you how I'm going to glue everything on. And then I am going to go and do some gluing. And I am going to be right back. So we're back. I ended up gluing on the pickets, the barn, and I trimmed some black pieces of paper to put as part of the fence. And I wanted to show you some other stuff that I did with the other one. So you can put other shapes in too. So I cut a cloud. So it's just drawing it out on a white piece of paper. I haven't glued them on yet, but I just wanted to show you, you can kind of like decorate your picture with all these little elements. So, and I decided to do like little circles for flowers and some leaves, which I've done on this as well. And then it looked a little bit empty at the bottom. So some of that green collage paper I was showing you how to make, we can put those on as well. And I could put a couple more rays in the sun, or I could go in with a paintbrush. But this is the one I'm wanting to create today. So I'm gonna leave it at that. And I want you guys to put in whatever you want. Like, let your imagination just kind of figure out how to fill it up. Like, what's on the ground? Sorry. Is it flowers? Is it leaves? Is it blades of grass? See if you can put them in. And then take a picture and send it to me. I'd love to see what you guys do. So I'll see you next time.